Region 5 of the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture consists of a 10-county area, including the counties of Clearfield, Center, Cambria, Blair, Huntington, Mifflin, Juniata, Somerset, Bedford, and Fulton. Next, we headed to a couple of livestock markets where we conducted their monthly inspection, looking at the overall physical facilities cleanliness, proper areas for restraint and quarantine animals, that each animal has proper identification including back tags on cattle and back tattoos for pigs, and lastly making sure each market kept adequate records. While at the markets, we also picked up some calf manure for a study on antibiotic resistance in cows. Our first stop on day 2 was to Blakely Young's Deer Farm, where I received a tour of his handling facilities and learned about the records he has to keep as a member of Pennsylvania's herd certification program in order to sell deer across state lines. One aspect he has to record is that for every deer that dies on property, they must be reported within 10 days, and a chronic wasting disease sample, which consists of part of the base of the brain and the lymph nodes, must be taken and sent into the lab. Then, we made a quick stop at the Belleville Livestock Market, where we downloaded information from radio frequency identification tags on animals that had moved through the market. In Belleville, there had been a total of 72 animals with RFID tags. On Wednesday, I participated in the yearly Poultry Technician Certification class taught by the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture, which consisted of a classroom session on avian disease, biosecurity practices, taking blood samples, tracheal and cloacal swab collection and handling. We also learned about the update on avian influenza, which had just that day been reported in the Mississippi Flyway, which is the flyway located next to the one in Pennsylvania. The second half of the day was spent doing the hands-on portion, where we took blood samples, practiced tracheal and cloacal swabs, and learned how to do pylorem testing on site with the right equipment. To ensure proper biosecurity, everyone had to wear coveralls, hairnets, gloves, and booties when working with the chickens. On Thursday morning, a local vet brought in a raccoon for rabies testing. To be sent into the animal diagnostic laboratory system, that raccoon had to be decapitated and its head mailed in for the testing. If the sample came back positive, the dogs who killed the raccoon would have to be placed under quarantine for rabies. Then we stopped in at a hunting preserve to check in on the Russian hogs they raise. The Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture regulates that all male hogs must be castrated before entering the hunting preserve. Our last stop on Thursday was to a Tractor Supply Company in Johnstown. Each spring, each Tractor Supply Company that sells chicks must be inspected to ensure that the chicks are being well cared for and that proper logbooks are being recorded for every chick sold. As part of the Pennsylvania Egg Quality Assurance Program, this laying house must pass their inspection with a score of 80%. The inspector looks for cleared vegetation around the outside perimeter, sound structure with no rodent holes, proper tin cats inside the laying house, and bait stations outside only, as this is an organic chicken farm. Jen rounded out our visit by informing the farmer of the incoming threat of avian influenza to our flyway. Thank you, Dr. Santini, Jen, and Don, for this amazing externship experience and for all the great stories during our car rides.